Positioning. I got an article for you. It's the first time sharing an article here. And we went to, I think it was like our first episode when we talked about social media, right? And the dangers of social media and how toxic it is for kids and how toxic it is for, basically young adolescents growing up. It's become the vein of every school district's existence. I know firsthand because a lot of my beefs, especially with the young ladies, were through social media. A lot of people sneak dissing each other because of social media. They put out a snap like, oh, this person, da da da, sucks, something, 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 and then all of a sudden it's like, oh, I didn't see that snap. Well, yeah, you made a burner account because you were doing that stuff. That's the thing too, man. These kids just sneak diss each other, man. Social media. We talked about this in the
Our
first
closing
episode.
topic of the day: social
Yep.
media.
Social media. This is that main event
Social
right
media is
now.
life.
It's what we're trying to get on. This YouTube is a form of social media. Like
Social media is
Spotify
life.
podcasts, social media, Instagram, TikTok. These YouTube shorts. All of it is social media. Something I'm trying to navigate. I'm trying to get better. I'm over here. Lacking in the social media quality. I know I could definitely get better. So that's why I need to post more.
You're saying like if you have like the summary of basically it's a school district out in Seattle, right? You said
Yeah. So like, there's a school district out of Seattle that said the school system accuses social media platforms of increasing students' anxiety and depression. So that's what they're suing them about. Basically saying that like these platforms are extremely flawed and the algorithm is dangerous to kids in particular, and people are coming to conclusions that like kids aren't sleeping enough during the day. I mean during the evening because they're constantly on social media. It goes into basically cyberbullying. They're actually getting clinical diagnosis of
depression and anxiety.
anxiety. Yep. So getting into that and not going deep into this article because just I don't think I even shared it. I don't think I even shared it correctly. Um, what do you think about like Seattle doing this? And do you think this is going to be like more of a wave of cities, states, counties suing these companies for the effects they're having on kids? Or is it something that we as parents can prevent?
I think it's more for show. I mean, you can't. I agree. I think it does lead to more anxiety, more depression, more violence, just more negative outcomes than positive outcomes. But the underlying, what it boils down to is your individual household,
Mm-hmm.
right? I think you can put whatever age you want on there. It's
Mm-hmm.
not hard to just say, unless they're gonna redo on how you can, like when Facebook came out originally, you could only sign up through your school email address to
Mm-hmm.
prove that you're a college student.
Yep, I remember
Right?
that.
That was the original way. That the only way you can get on there was by utilizing it through your college email address. So
Mm-hmm.
unless they're able to do something like that, I mean, I think it's just for show. I mean, you are putting social media on blast, but it comes down to the individual parent. If you have a kid who's 9 years old, 10 years old, and they're on social media, they're not supposed to be on there to the age of 13.
I definitely
That's
concur
that's
with
the
all that.
that's the youngest that's the youngest age that's allowed is 13 years old. So
Right.
if your kid is below that and they're on there and you know that, that's on you. You allow that. You allow that to happen in your household. That has nothing to do with the company, right? I mean, it's the same shit with like alcohol and cigarettes, and they have all these labels and things, but kids get their hands on it all the time.
Yeah.
So I think it's hard to regulate. I wish it was higher, just because kids don't know the full story. They run with it. I talk to my students all the time because they're like, "Well, how come we can't have our cell phones?" Because you guys are negative. You have your cell phone. I'm gonna go. I don't use my cell phone to bully other people online. and tell them run my fade and do all this nonsense and talk shit all day and make ghost accounts and say all this bullshit all day. I don't do that. I do that I use my cell phone to communicate with other educators about what's going on in our building and how can I support. You guys are trying to set up fights. Like that's totally different. Like, and it's just sad. And I know we've touched on this before of just girls got it the worst, man. Like, and I think about that now that I'm having my own girl. It's just like, who's prettier? Who's this? Who's the baddest bitch? Who's prettiest? Who would fight? Who would win this fight? Why is this girl a hoe? Is this girl a hoe too? Like, all day, every day. And the sad part is a bunch of little boys playing puppet master and being quiet and gossiping more than the girls do. And everyone like always associates gossip with girls. These little boys are worse. They're setting up all their shit in the background and just like sitting there like little schmeagles and just like, yeah, you like laughing about it. And I'm like, yo, this is ridiculous. And they're just tearing each other down. Like, these kids' self-esteem are just miserable. And like, I just had a conversation with a 7th grade girl the other day, and we were talking about social media, and like, this is, and I hate when adults kind of downplay it. This is their world, bro. This is their entire world right now. Mm-hmm. And I hear adults like, oh, these are little problems. I was like, no, these are little problems to you. This is their entire world. This is their identity. This is who they are. This is what they're carrying around. This is their clout. This is their social rankings. This is everything. When we had those yearbooks of most popular, most this, most that, this is social media is that on steroids.
Yeah, sorry about that.
It's all good.
Yeah.
Edit. Message.
Yep. Message. Edit.
So like it's just a lot, man, and kids don't understand. Like, I had this conversation too with my sister, like even just playing Roblox. Like, kids can't even go on Roblox and play with each other because it's creeps on there trying to pretend to be kids. Right. Like, or a kid can't even do the innocent shit without someone always out there trying to take advantage. Mm-hmm. And it's really shameful. And I wish there was a better way to regulate it, but I obviously I don't know, or else I'd be a millionaire and I would have developed this, or a billionaire, I would have developed this, this software for it. But I saw another video of the owner or the founder or CEO of TikTok, and he was explaining how his kids are not on there. He's like, my kids are not allowed to have a TikTok. He's like, for one, they're 8 and 10. He's like, so my age requirement is 13. They're not 13 yet, so they can't even be on there. And this is coming from the person who is profiting off of this. And his kids are not allowed. But he's also just still doing it very basic of following the guidelines that he put for everyone else and applying it to his household. Yeah. Smart. I think if we can just do that, like, who knows what social media is going to look like when our kids are older. It's going to be fucking crazy. It's going to be like VR, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, me and you could put these VR things and it would look like we're sitting in the same room together. Mm-hmm. That's probably where it's headed to next. Or they're already there. I mean, I see those things. That meta shit, I'm kind of low key, like that thing where like you put them on and it's like you can get like it looks like you're at the basketball game. Yep. Like, that's kind of dope. Like, I'm excited. Yeah. That's something I would love to get into if I am fortunate enough to be able to. Who knows how much that shit's gonna cost? But if I'm able to afford something like that, I would love to have that where I could just, like, instead of watching a game on ESPN, I put this shit on and it looks like I'm sitting front row at the game. That's like. That would be bananas. But like that's a positive of it. But like for kids, man, they're just shitting on each other all day, and it sucks because a lot of the kids who shit on each other the most are in the same boat. They're usually undereducated. They're usually kids of color. They live in a lot of them have traumatic backgrounds, and if they would just take the time to connect and understand one another, they would see that they're more alike than different, and they should be building each other up.
Yeah, building community amongst kids is very tough nowadays. It's because there's a lot of hate.
Everyone's an op.
Yeah, everybody's an op. Everybody's an op.
That's a favorite word.
Even a person that's you've never even associated with, but you might see him on Instagram. Yo, that's my op. Like, man, you don't even know this dude. What are you talking about?
Yeah, like, what are you talking
Yeah,
about?
I'm starting to hate that word op. Because you're right, man. Everybody uses it. It's like, oh man, this is my op. My ops out here. But watch out. You're the ops. Da, 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 da. It's the most overused word of 2022. I think it's going to be even worse in 2023. It's going to be garbage. Do you think education? Do you think like teaching, having a class that's just social media? It's like how to use it for the good and influence it for some type of monetary gain, or education from a parental, perspective. It's like, all right, if you're gonna enroll your kid into school, we're gonna have like a video that you're gonna have to watch. It's like a 7 minute, 8 minute video just around social media and how to navigate this as a parent. And you're gonna have to sign off that you seen this. So if your kid gets in trouble for this in school, well, we know that you've watched this educational video already, and now the punishment is going to look like this because you are not the one policing your child's what your child's seeing on a daily basis or a weekly basis. What do you think about that?
I think education is too outdated to do that. I think that it's just in some pockets. I can see that. I mean, we talk about social media in my school.
Mm-hmm.
I live in Denver, though. You know what I mean? I live in a very progressive, forward-thinking city, forward-thinking school district. I mean, we got folks in like rural places or down south, or even just outside of Denver in Colorado, who are just, just still old school teachings of like 1990 bullshit that we learned when we were kids.
Mm-hmm.
We need to get away from that. I struggle with taking phones away from kids. It's not my favorite thing to do, or telling them. I get it's a distraction, but I can't think of the argument. I can't think of the argument all the time of like why. Mm-hmm. When I was a kid, remember it was like, calculators, you can't do math on calculators. You're not going to be able to use calculators in the real world. Bullshit. Like, that didn't plan out. I got a calculator on my phone. There are apps where you can hover over a math problem and it'll show you all the work.
I saw that.
Give you the answer. Like, so we need to, like, as a field, just needs to catch up. And people are very resistant to change because education is an old profession. You got a bunch of outdated educators out there who are making decisions because they're not even in schools anymore. They're making decisions based on what they experienced when I was a kid, and there's nothing like that anymore. My goal is running a school is in utilizing the cell phone. I don't want to take it away. I want to utilize it. I want you to maximize this little device that you have in front of you that unlocks the whole world and teach you how to really use it. Like you're saying, like, use it for the benefits of it. Learn how to, like, use the calendar so you're always on time. Put your schedule in there. Increase your executive functioning. Mm-hmm. Right? Like, if there was a way to, like, not utilize it for, if I could get to a point where we trusted our kids and know, like, you're not going to be setting up fights. Because, I mean, honestly, they could really do it on the Chromebook. It's the same shit. It's the same shit. I could send you a G-chat. Mm-hmm. It's not that hard. I can send you a G-chat. I can send you an email saying, I'm going to meet you in the bathroom and fuck you up. I can do that easily. Because by the time it gets to me, it's already happened.
Have your kids done the Google Doc yet? Where they set up a Google Doc and they share on there? And it's just like, it's like a running, like,
it's a running
thing
document.
on the Google Doc. Yeah. That one's stupid.
It's the same thing. So it's like, we take away phones. We spend time like, oh, they can't have their phone. They can't have access. But you got a Chromebook.
Right.
It's the same shit, man. Like, it's the same thing. It just looks a little different. And it's not this big. It's this big. But if you really wanted to, you can do that. I can communicate with you if I really wanted to. These kids find loopholes they like jump through security walls and still find a way to get onto Roblox. They still find a way, and then like all those like Google games, you can't block it because the only way to block it is to block Gmail. And then if your school district uses Gmail to communicate, you can't block all the games because it's all attached to the Gmail account or a Google account. So like it's a lose-lose. So you're gonna spend time fighting it, or maximize the time of how do I incorporate this and get kids ready for the future. Because when I was a kid, it was always like, I just remember teachers like, you're never going to be able to use calculators in the real world. You got to learn this. That's bullshit, because everywhere is a calculator. There's calculators on the screen. Calculators are encouraged.
Yes.
They're encouraged.
It's almost like saying like, hey, like we have a car that we can drive a distance, but no, you're gonna ride this bike. Yeah.
You're gonna take the yabba dabba do. You gotta use your feet.
Yeah. Exactly. You use a Flintstone. You use a Flintstone-mobile. It's stupid. You're spot on about education. There's a reason why America is so far down when it comes to education around the world compared to other countries around the world. The lack of foresight about where everything is going, and then just the lack of innovation. Like, we have innovation in everything that we do except for education, which makes zero sense. It makes no sense. And then if we do have the innovation, it's 7 to 10 years behind of other like businesses.
Or just in life. And think about it, like we're still focusing on Chromebooks. Like, bro, a Chromebook, really? Like laptops? Like, your phone is now a laptop.
Exactly.
Like, if you have one of those like Galaxy, what are those bigger ones? I forgot what they're called.
The Galaxy Notes. Yeah, with the stylus.
Bro, that's a computer. Stylus. Yeah, with the stylus.
Yeah, those are computers.
You know what I mean? Like, my cell phone right now, I can make 4K videos on my phone.
Right.
Why can't we just, like, I don't know, we have like a technology club. They can use their phones. I get you like those little those little stands, and you can make your videos there. You can learn how to edit on there. Kids make beats on. You can make beats. You can do so much stuff on apps on your phone. But again, it has to come with that education piece of kids knowing what their phone is used for and just not using it to harm other people.
Right.
If we can get kids and teach them how to, we can't just tell them to stop doing something and without supplementing with what you can do. Don't tell me what I can't do. Tell me what I can do. Right?
Yeah.
We got a positive narration, positive correction. Don't just say what you're not supposed to do. Replace it with what am I supposed to do instead of what you're telling me not to do.
Yeah.
Like, it's very simple, but people still don't want to do it. And I learned this lesson a long time ago. It's my favorite thing when I used to tell kids stop running in the hall, and one kid started skipping. And I was like, motherfucker, like, you got me. Like, like, I didn't tell him not to, all I said was not to run. So he started skipping. And I had to let it go. Because he won. He did exactly what I told him not to do, but I didn't tell him what to do, so he decided to make that decision upon himself, and he started skipping on the hall. And it's the same thing here. It's the same thing here. Like, imagine, like, you know how many times a day kids are like, Mister, I don't know what class I gotta go to.
I hate that.
You know what I mean? But if I was able to let them use it on their phone, and I told them, like, the first day of advisory, I want you to program your schedule onto your phone. This is what we're going to do today. This is Time Management 101. Utilize the calendar app on your phone. I want you to put your time, I want you to put the classroom, and I want you to put the teacher's name on who you're supposed to visit every single day at this time. Why? So you always know. You don't need to come and ask me. You don't need to pull up Schoology or Infinite Campus on your phone. You don't have to do none of that. It's there. You know exactly where to do. I use mine. Right. I have an alarm on my phone that tells me I need to go to lunch duty now, in case I'm running around not thinking about it, and it says lunch starts in 10 minutes. Make sure you're there at your post. Why wouldn't I have my students have that same leverage so they can stop relying on adults for support? We're trying to build independence.
Exactly. I don't.
It's going to get ugly at first, but you got to stay committed to it in order to see that change follow through.
And it sucks that we have to teach some of those executive functioning because a lot of that should be on the parents. I know certain different backgrounds and genres and like some kids come from low socioeconomics, so a lot of their parents don't have that executive functioning. So I understand like those kids, but at the same time, like I wish those parents would try to make time to better themselves to help their kids out. Um,
Real quick, you're gonna have to take this piece off because you sound elitist right now. And it's
I do. No, I do. I no. That's hell of elitist. That's hell of elitist. And you might disagree with me on this. It's hell of elitist. And I know there's people out there, like I saw a TikTok with a mom and her kid in a van, but she's doing all this executive function of cooking, cleaning. They're going inside of Walmart. They're doing all this stuff. But they're living out of a van, But like, where's the dad at? Where's the dad at to go help your kid out while mom and kids in the van? You know what I mean? That's hell of elitist. That's hell of elitist. I know I sound hell of elitist, and sometimes I definitely do. Sometimes I sound like I was born with a silver spoon in my mouth. Yeah, I had my troubles. I had my hard times, but at the same time, we know the barriers are there. We know like there's certain things that like hold minorities back when it comes to us getting better education, when it comes to us getting better jobs, when it comes to us, because I saw it as a basketball coach. I couldn't get a job. It was so hard for me to get a basketball coach, especially if I didn't know anybody up above that was touting my name and was like, "Yo, this guy Marcus is really good." Yeah, I know it was tough. Blacks in coaching is hard. Blacks in anything is freaking hard, and it's hard to get a better job. It's hard to get all this stuff. I understand that. But at the end of the day, we have these barriers that we still need to find and work our way around. And we have to do this any means necessary. And if it's not for us, for our kids, we have to. Eventually, there's got to be a point where you break the cycle. My dad came from nothing. My dad just came from east side Baltimore. If you guys know, you guys know. If you know, you know. He was able to find a way to break the cycle to where I was have a better life. And now my son is going to have a better life. My other son, when he's 18, he's going to have a better life because I'm going to give him that better life. We have to find a way to break those cycles, and I think that find a way to break those cycles, especially as men, is to continue to educate ourselves on certain scenarios, on certain things, to get better every single day to get better. And I understand a lot of us are in the mud. A lot of us are things to do. Some of us are making $12, $13 an hour. But you got to ask yourself, like, hey, how can I keep getting better? How can I get off the streets? If you're running the streets, I don't want to run the streets no more. How can I get off of that? I don't want to be a broke-ass ninja. How can I get off of that? Yes, that sounds elitist. Yes, it does. But at the same time, it's hard. Life is hard. But if you want to get better, there's so many avenues and there's so many things for you to get better. Rebut me. I know you got things to say because I'm pissing you off with what I'm saying right now. Go ahead.
Nah, I mean, I'm not mad. I'm just, it sounds good, but if it was that easy, everyone would do it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't believe, and I know for a fact that most people who are in bad situations don't choose to stay in those situations. Those are the folks that you see that are in those situations who look like they're choosing it. That's a very, very small population that get the most exposure because it's the most controversial, it sells the most, it's the most entertaining, and that's why you see more of that. There are more folks who are in bad situations who are busting their ass every day to get out of those situations than there are of people who are choosing to stay content with whatever they're living that week to week or day to day, that the lifestyle they have. So I just want folks to realize, like, because that is a big misconception, especially working in education, where because I live here or because my kid has free and reduced lunch, people automatically assume that that person doesn't care. They do care. They just either they weren't taught, they don't know what to do, their parents didn't know how to set them up, so they're starting from scratch, and all it takes is one bad mistake that can haunt you forever. it's very hard to pull yourself out of a hole that's already been dug for you. I mean, you know how many people I run into who had like credit in their name when they were like 12, and they don't even know about that until they try to get their own shit, and they were screwed over from the beginning. Or like teenage parents who, doing what they have to do and really working at it and trying to be the best person they can be, but it's just when you're talking about $2,000 a month of childcare, like that, and then navigating. There are supports. There are definitely supports. I'm a Section 8 kid. But my Section 8 experience looked different than others because my grandmother figured out how to navigate. She figured out how to get us out into an apartment building rather than a project building. That makes a big difference. And it's just not easy. It's doable? Yes. Is it possible? Yes. Is it probable? That's the difference. And it also depends on where you live in the country. Right? Are you living in a more progressive state, city, or are you sitting somewhere that has limited resources? Poor little kids in rural Alabama do not have the same resources as those poor kids in Birmingham, Alabama. It's a big difference. And it's just like, I just want people to understand that, like, because I hear that a lot of, like, dig yourself up, be tough, and do this and do that. It's easier said than done, or more people would do it. And I would say those extreme cases where it looks like these people don't give a shit is very rare. It's very rare of the people who truly don't care. A lot of people are undereducated here in America. Undereducated, and it's disrespectful. I mean, just in Denver alone, do you believe in 2008? It's not even that long ago. The high school graduation rate was 41%.
I can believe that.
2008. That's crazy. 2008? Like, bro, I was just graduating high school in 2000. You're going to sit here and tell me that 41% of people graduated from a Denver public school high school? I just read that shit today. 41%, that is ridiculous. That is so low. And you think about the makeup of a city district, it's primarily minorities and lower income people. And now you think about, you fast forward to where we're at now, this city's in a major crisis of gentrification where the cost of living has doubled, damn near doubled in the time I've lived here in the last 6 years, and people are being pushed out. My school's population is so small because everyone is buying out family homes and they're all my age and they're rising up to all the prices, and if they have kids, they're not sending their kids to my school. They're sending them to private schools. They're choicing them into other schools across town. So we're losing dollars all the time. That impacts the amount of quality, the amount of teachers I can hire, the amount of extracurricular opportunities we can have, because we're just trying to scrape by with the bare minimum. That's what it is every single day. So like I said, it's just navigating the system is hard, man. You get a lot of runaround. And I'm just thinking like simple. Think of something simple. Like when I was 16 years old and I had shoulder surgery and my doctor didn't give me physical therapy. You think if I was a middle class parent, if I went there with my mom and my dad, middle class, you think they would have not given me physical therapy? I didn't know
because those guys insurance would have covered it.
And I had a medical card. So like, I don't even know, but I thought I was okay because I could move it.
Right.
I didn't understand that I had to rebuild it. I thought the surgery fixed it. I could move it. I'd be good again. I was never able to play baseball again because of that doctor's decision. That never would have happened if I was a middle class person. That never would have happened. I guarantee you that never would have happened.
I'll ask this question then. What do you say to those right now who are struggling? What would you propose that they do? Like
Don't be afraid to ask questions.
That'd be it. Just
ask questions.
Keep asking questions and educate yourself. Correct.
Educate, and if you don't know, ask questions. Don't be afraid to ask questions. If you have a medical card, if you have any other public services, ask those questions. Whatever you're thinking, whatever you're experiencing, you need to vocalize and communicate your. I hate when people are like, there are no dumb. Some questions are dumb. Don't ask me no dumb shit. But real life questions, the shit that you're going through and things that you're trying to learn, do not be afraid to ask questions and put yourself out there. If you don't know, it's okay. What's not okay is when you don't know and you're afraid to ask. You have to be vulnerable. You have to put yourself out there. You have to because you never know what answers you might get that would be beneficial and change your life. I didn't know anything about financial aid. I had to ask questions. I had to figure it out. I didn't know about college. I asked questions. I didn't know anything about grad school. I asked questions. I saw people who, they looked like me, made me more comfortable. I asked questions. Ask all the questions you need. And then when you have those questions, really think about what's tangible. You have to have a plan. I've had an exit plan since I was younger. When I was making bad choices, I knew I didn't want to make bad choices forever. I started developing how was I going to eliminate this negative thing that I was doing to get by and replace it with something else in order to maybe either make the same type of money and then continue to build on for that. Because I did not want to experience some of the things I had to. I didn't want to live in Section 8 forever. I knew I needed to get out of Section 8. How do I get there? And again, I wish I asked more questions when I was younger. As much as I love, working with children, I would love to be one of these people who have like a more progressive, modernized career. But because I was so quiet for such a long time, I fell into the traditional track. And it's paid off, it's safe. I guess I would say I took a safe route, where I have a recession-proof career pretty much, which is great. But now at the age of about to be 33, I wish I had more modernized skills. But I don't. And I'm working on it now. Because I'm asking questions. I'm talking to people. I'm trying to figure out how I can make other streams of income. Because I don't want to work till 65, 70 years old and retire. I wish I talked to more people about financial aid. So I don't have over $100,000 in debt and college debt. Although I haven't been paying because of the pause, that still floats over my head one day, and that's going to have an impact on what I can provide for my family moving forward when we do have to start making payments. I wish I was more educated on those things. But at the same time, I also saw it as an investment, because if I didn't take those gambles, I wouldn't be making the income I'm making. I probably wouldn't be making what I'm making now. So it was an investment in myself, but there are better ways I could have went about it.
How can we I wouldn't even say like minorities now, because like basically break it down demographics, there's millions and millions of, Hispanics coming from the border. So like I believe that we are not the minority anymore. Like I think minorities are now becoming more the majority, especially
we're just a minority of power.
Yeah, exactly. There you go. I'll put it that way. So how can the minorities of power, how can they improve themselves and fight off the culture? Because the culture to me is extremely negative when it comes to, like, say for instance, our music that we listen to. It's influenced by drug culture, messing around with a bunch of women, womanizing, different things like that. It's like very negative, but it's positively accepted. All of our youngins, if you ask them, you say, hey, what do you want to be when you grow up? It's like, oh man, I want to be a football player. I want to be a basketball player. That's like 70-80% of the responses is some type of athlete, which is okay. But at the same time, like you're shooting for a profession that only the top 1-2% are going to be qualified for. Exactly. I was being like, I'm talking about G League, international. Like even with that, it's still professional. You're still making money, but like you're not making like NBA money, which what you think you're gonna make, or NFL money. You could be the UFL or the XFL, and also too, like if you go to a young like Caucasian kid, the Caucasian kid's like, man, I want to be like a pharmacist. I want to be a nuclear physicist. I want to be a military commander. I want to be
That's exposure. I mean, that's
okay.
exposure.
Okay, so how can we fight those norms as minorities? How could we do that
I mean,
and make ourselves better?
I fight it every day. I fight
I'm,
it
I'm,
every day.
I'm not talking about you because you
I
already
know, but
made
I'm
it,
saying, but I'm using myself as an example. I
right?
fight it. I'm showing them every day. I am that. I am an educator. I'm a school leader. I'm a man of color. I am tatted. I talk slang. I'm from the neighborhood. I understand what they're seeing. They don't see me like they don't see people like me on a regular basis. You know what I'm saying? Representation matters. So having that opportunity to see, like when we take our kids out places and they have a talk with a African American doctor, and making them realize, like, yo, this is way more achievable than being LeBron James. And I think that's the problem is like that connection isn't there. You think that being a doctor is more out of the realm than being a basketball player because you have access to a basketball court. That's the issue. But that's going to change over time. That's going to change over time. I mean, shout out to like all the civil rights activists from the back in the day. They all like they set the stone. They set that precedent for us. They knocked the door down, so I can go to grad school. So I can do what I'm doing. Now it's up to us to continue that narrative and continue to pump out educators and doctors and lawyers. So there is more representation. So that dream seems achievable. Because before it wasn't. I mean, when you couldn't go to college, there was no access, you couldn't do all those things. Then yeah, they wanted to put you on TV because you're more athletic. That made more sense. But now, the next thing is really just continuously knocking on doors and being in places and occupying places that we weren't welcome before. I love going to places. That's the reason why I go to this bougie ass gym. It makes me feel good knowing that like I'm probably one of, I don't know, maybe 20, I don't know, maybe like 5% of people of color who go to this gym. I'm occupying this space. My kids know, man, this dude Martial goes to this club, that he goes there, he does X, Y, and Z. He does, yeah, I do. You can do it too. You can do it better than me. I did this shit. I got here accidentally. You can do this shit on purpose and take it even further. Never would have thought I would have been right here. But you, at your age, you can do all these things, and I put you on game, and I'm gonna teach you with shit that no one told me that I needed to know. You don't need to know everything. You need to know the right things. And it's just being there, being consistent, and showing and leading by example, and getting away from do as I say, not as I do. If you're gonna say it, you need to be doing it. Because that do as I say, not as I do, that shit doesn't work for everybody. That only works if you truly love somebody. And my uncle did a lot of that when I was younger. Do as I say, not as I do, but we had that bond. And if we don't have that bond, I don't care what you're saying. I'm gonna do it anyway.
Right.
You're telling me, you know what I mean? But we're making progress. It's just gonna take time because the opportunities weren't there. We weren't able to go into those colleges. We weren't able to sit at these executive tables. We weren't able to be the heads of school districts controlling everything. Now that that's becoming more of the norm, that shit's gonna change. And that's gonna change. It's gonna be even better for our children, their generation, 2 generations down. They're gonna be way ahead of us. And that's the goal. Continuous progress.
I think that change will happen once we realize that like academia should be celebrated and not be some square ass shit. It's especially like in the black community, it's more of like, hey, like people are frowned upon. Dudes like me, like dudes. I was with the high school student the other day doing these parent meetings, and this dude was like going to college, young black man, light skin, like, dude, he's, into computer gaming and everything, but he's not getting, the thing is that he's not getting shown any love from like the young ladies, because, he's a square. He's labeled as a white man instead of being a black dude with different interests. I think as soon as we flip that and we start accepting more of, hey, like, you can go skiing. The mountains are right there in Denver. That's not white shit. That's having fun. You can go to the local swimming pool and swim. That's not white shit. That's cool. That's getting into the water when it's summertime because it gets hot out there. I think we just need to be more accepting of those kind of things. And then once that culture shift happens, I think that people are going to be more open to it. The people that live in lower incomes are going to be more open to it because it's all there. I wish we celebrate that because with the women, it's celebrated. Like we have a whole bunch of minority women that are going to colleges right now. I just think with us men, we aren't the one that are getting educated right now. We're going to school less than a lot of women, and I think that's definitely a problem. Especially like go to trade school or get up on game with when it comes to this new gig economy. But just educating yourself is most important. I wish that it wasn't so not taboo, but just wasn't so square. You go bitch ass ninja for now. Wanting to be outside with us. And stuff like that. So that's where I think the more of that stuff will shift is when we start actually appreciating higher education, self-improvement, and those kind of things instead of being like block boys, have to go to prison to actually get some street cred, being those bad boys. That kind of stuff, we need to knock all that foolishness off. I think that's a huge step in the right direction for a lot of us, especially us young brothers.
It is, and it's slowly happening.
Mm-hmm.
It's slowly happening because again, I do believe it comes with the act. And when it's different, when you're the only one, they'll be like, yeah, that's some white shit. I mean, people don't even believe, and it's crazy. Like, people have conversations with me, and no one believes that I'm a psychologist.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you've been there, and they're like,
oh yeah,
nah, you know what I'm saying? Like, the fact that people respond to me that way, and I have all these degrees, and I've done all these things, and people just think I'm just some like uneducated person because I talk in slang, like when I'm not speaking in my using my professional terminology and all that garbage. But
quick interruption. Microaggressions. How many of those do you think you get a day because of that? Because you are very accomplished in academia. You know what I mean? So like, do you think like, so it's like, oh, this guy must be like a mechanic or...
Yeah, I stopped giving a fuck. Like, I honestly, I don't give a fuck no more. Like,
right.
Shit used to bother me, and I just kind of got to the point where like, I know what I am. I know what I do and who I do it for, and all that shit don't mean that shit for the birds, bro. Like, I don't give a fuck. Like my kids say, run my fade. Then you got a problem, run that shit. That shit don't bother me. I don't pay attention. All that microaggressions and all these little. I don't give a shit. You can be I'll be like fuck micro, be macro. If you got a problem, step. If you you know what I'm saying. If I gotta read between the lines, I don't even like reading, bro. So I ain't reading your ass. I ain't got time for that. If you got a problem, we can do it. Like I said, everyone knows who I do it for and why I do it. My kids get it. My resume is stacked. My pockets are good. I own property. I'm chilling, so you can be a microaggressive, or you can be any other bullshit. You want to be passive aggressive? I'm right here. You got an issue? You can step, run my fade. I'm gonna start saying that shit to everybody.
Right? Come on, over here, run my fade. That's.
I'm gonna put that in my email at the end.
Run my fade.
Run my fade. You got a problem? Like, that's it. Like. I don't got time for that. That's too much. That just takes away from me. That makes me. I'm not sitting here trying to second guess myself. And I used to be very self-conscious on how I talked because I had someone tell me like, "Oh, you need to work on your speaking and your slang." And well, fuck that. Fuck that. I'm not doing that anymore. Unapologetic. I ain't doing that. I don't got time for that. Because when I do that, then I come off as phony, inauthentic.
Yeah.
and I start stumbling over my words, and
Right.
you know what I'm saying? Like, it's hard enough for me not to call everybody motherfucker.
Right.
It's one of my favorite words. It comes off nice. It rolls off the tongue nice. It's very hard for me not to sit there and call everybody motherfucker in a very loving and charming way. So you should be happy I ain't referring to you like that. Like, you know what I'm saying? I'm talking to somebody. Cut all that shit out, bro. It's 2023. All that old shit is dead.
And we shouldn't have to dumb it down for other people either. I mean, like, I am who I am. Like, I grew up with, like, you know, every single race pretty much over there in Southern California. So, like, how I talk is how I talk with everybody. I've never, like, dumb it down for anybody, simplify it, ease it in. Just, I am who I am, and that's just the way I am. There's no code switching. There's no nothing. I'll never do that, man. Just always be you because you are interesting. You know what I mean? Like, you have always got a story to tell. You get people's attention real well. And so, like, by you even trying to switch it up for somebody, oh, hey, Johnny, how you doing? Like, I could never see you do that, man. I'll call you out, man. I'll be like, what the fuck, you know?
I don't
Like,
even like people calling me Ben anymore. I hate Ben. I killed Ben 4 years ago. I hate
there
Ben.
you go.
I hate that shit. I got tired of it. I was like, man, fuck Ben. You know,
Right.
Benji, bro.
There you go.
Benji, that's it. Or Benji, you gonna call me by my full name? Cool. But for short, Benji. Don't call me Ben. Ben ain't got no flair.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Ben is scared to be himself. Fuck that. I hate
Yeah.
that name.
Yeah. Ben is stale.
Yeah,
Benji is the way.
Flavor, bro. I got too much sazon over here to be go by Ben.
Right. Yeah, man. Though, yeah, be authentic. Hey, and I think that's actually we should end it right there. Be authentic. Be yourself. Every day, come out here and improve. Be the best person that you can be. Be the best father that you can be. You know, try to teach your seeds so they can be better than you. You know, make sure the
And wash
situation
your motherfucking ass, you nasty motherfuckers.
with a rag, a loofah, dig deep because I know your ass is gross. And then use flushable wipes if you can because those things are the business, bro. Oh, bro, hey, put you on those flushable wipes, man. Those things are like so great. You come in with the dry, and you got the cleanser. You know, you got the Trevor Hoffman, you got the Mariano Rivera with the flushable wipes. I'm telling you, man, that's just the way. That is the way.
Be
That is the way.
and wash your ass. Have a great night, America.
Like and subscribe. Like and subscribe. Thanks for coming out, guys.